Hello everyone, welcome to my live stream. Today is the 4th Monday of February, so that means it's time to do a lucky dip. What a lucky dip is a randomly selected media art piece. What I do is take all of the supplies that I've gotten from various art snacks boxes and other subscription boxes I've had in the past, put them in a spreadsheet, big huge spreadsheet, and then I use random.org to select 5 numbers, and those 5 numbers correspond to what I'm going to use for the piece this time. So what I drew was some raw sienna gouache, a black brush ink pen, a white acrylic paint marker, and 2 different colored pencils, different colors and different brands. I tested everything out ahead of time, so even though this orange one, says insoluble, when I did a brush over it, it totally moved the pigment around a water brush, so we'll see what happens with that. And then this one is, they call it a, what does it say? Some sort of violet, but to me it's more like brown with the slightest violet hint. So we've got those 2 colored pencils to use as well. So my rules with these, I set up my own rules for how to do my lucky dips. And I do allow myself to choose whatever kind of paper I want based on the materials. So when I was looking through my artist surfaces, I found this render sample sketchbook, and I haven't used it in a long time. I've used it before for some other stuff, but I thought it would be fun to try and use it again, because what this paper does is allow you to use both sides because it doesn't bleed through. So like you can see here, I did a full like marker piece, and this was water. The green was watercolor and everything, and it didn't bleed through onto my piece on the previous page. And these marks here are only here because the marker went, the page was slightly off. It's not that it bled through. So like here, where there's all this blue right here, there's no sign of bleed through at all. So this is and I've never bought a full sketchbook of this, but I do really like it, and I think that sometime I will actually buy a full-sized sketchbook. But for now I have actually 2 of these. I've gotten them. I got one of these in Art Snacks, and I think I got one from Pigment and Palette when they were still a thing. They no longer exist, but I still have 2 of these small sample sketchbooks to use. So I'll probably use these up before I buy anything bigger, or else I know I won't use these because I have the bigger paper. And I was thinking I might do like I did on the previous page with that wolf. I'll try and cover both pages and make it a tall piece. And that's because I've chosen, I'm going to have to go find it because I had to restart my computer, but I've chosen a picture I took at the Oregon Zoo of a giraffe because I thought that it would be perfect with the colors I had to use. Black, orange, and then a couple of different kind of browns. Other tools I'm using, I decided to just go with water brushes. I've got 4 different sizes of tip for these water brushes, and they all came from previous Art Snacks or Pigment and Palette boxes. And then of course I've got my little paper towel, which is dirty from use now, but there's no reason not to keep using it until it's just totally filthy. So first, I want to get my Twitch open. My computer always takes so long to restart that I didn't have time to reopen all my stuff before I needed to hit start on my streaming software. So I want to get Twitch open so I can see if anybody's trying to talk to me on the chat. And I also need to open my reference image. Let's see, I need to go to my pictures, photographs, and search for zoo. It should be in the first, yep, Oregon Zoo. Too bad I don't remember what the, oh, there's some polar bears. It was after the polar bears. It's after the elephants. I think it was pretty soon after the elephants, actually. When I was first looking for animals, well, I was just looking for inspiration to draw with the colors I had, and then I thought, well, it seems pretty good for animals, these colors. So first I thought of a fox, and when I was looking that up, I saw a maned wolf, which I was like, oh, that's more different. But then when I kept looking for, I was just Googling reference images, trying to find one I thought looked nice. I wasn't really into any of the photos I saw, so that's when I decided to, I've got all these photos that I've taken over the years, and I've tried to organize them nicely so that I can use them for reference. But I've actually only done that a few times, so I remembered about them. And when I was looking through all these pictures, I found this. Yeah, here we go. It's a nice picture of giraffes looking right at the camera. Let me zoom in a little bit. This giraffe actually has 3 horns on it. I mean, I know they're not actually horns, but there's like 1 in the middle and 2 further back on the top. It's pretty cool. Alright. Oh my goodness, my Twitch stream title is totally wrong. I'm gonna fix that real quick. Lucky Dip 4. Now what am I using? I'm using gouache, ink, colored pencil, and acrylic. Okay, let me save that. And my mouse was rendering really weirdly for days, but I use my PC like all the time, so I didn't want to restart it, and today is just like, I've got to restart this PC. So I finally did, but it took so long to restart. It doesn't help that it keeps trying to read. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. Occasionally it tries to read for a operating system from my external hard drive, and it's like, no, that's not what it is. So then I have to like restart it again and unplug the hard drive so that it will read from where I've told it to read from, the internal hard drive. So that made it take extra long. That's why I'm having to catch up right now doing that stuff. I think I'm ready to go. I've got the chat room up. Let me pop the chat room out, and then I'll be good. Let's see, where's the pop out thing? Oh, I couldn't see it because my lamps are reflecting. There. Now I've got chat. Got my reference image. Move my OBS over here. Sweet. I've got the reference image on my other monitor so that these lamps to light up my workspace won't reflect on the screen like it does on my main screen. So sometimes with these Lucky Dips I let myself use a graphite pencil to sketch out first, but since I have 2 different colored pencils, I'm just going to sketch out with these, and hopefully it'll still look fine in the end. So this image, I think I want the giraffe's head to be like around, I definitely want it to be on one page, and then I thought that the neck could come down, so I guess I need to zoom out a little bit. in order to have enough neck. Doesn't really come straight down though, it comes more like out to the side, so I don't know. Maybe if I draw it at an angle like this, so that then the neck is following this way, the head's right here. So let's just start with these lines right here that are the outside of the head right above the eyes, and then the eyes stick out really far from that. And they've got these horns. Don't remember the actual proper name for them, but you know what I'm talking about. There, sketch these. And it comes down in a nice soft U shape. Sort of have these little tufts of fur too. So that's the top. And then this third horn is coming right out of the middle of its head. Although, let's see, it's still above these eyebrows. So it's like right here. And it comes down like this. And the center is like here. Now, from this comes down the bridge of the nose. On both sides you can see it. Giraffes have really like bony faces, or they have a lot of, they're not really smooth. Here's one eyeball. So this giraffe's head is actually turned a little bit. I needed to move this horn over to the side because of that. So the bridge of the nose comes out straight down. There's the eye, and the bottom eyelid is rounded, and then cheek meets the nose. This eye you can see a lot better. Curves there and comes down to a point. And then it's a big round curve for the bottom, like big doe eyes. And there's a little point of the eyelashes off to the side. And then this eyebrow actually comes even farther out. I mean, I call it an eyebrow, but comes down, and here's the cheek, the jaw, okay, make this come out further. And this doesn't come out at such an angle. And the cheek comes down, and the lips sort of poke out from that. And they meet up with the nose. And they have this shovel, spade sort of look to them. And let's draw the nostrils. This side of the face I have angled too much. It needs to come out farther. I need to draw this side of the bridge of the nose. It also comes out into sort of the cheek area. And then we've got the ears as well. One one ear is coming out right above the eye here, and right below this top horn. It kind of comes straight out and curves down to meet at the bottom. And since the head is turned, the neck is sort of got some wrinkles in it here, some folds. And you can see the side of this horn coming out to become the ear on this side. It also comes up. Let's see, here's this bottom part comes out from the head, curves gently at the bottom, sweeps up to meet at the top. Hopefully those are about the same size. Alright, this is coming along, this is coming along. I think the head is mostly good for starters. Now, right here, some more wrinkles, and that's where the neck starts coming down here. And it's a real gentle curve, it's not straight. Super gentle curve all the way down. This part of the neck, you can actually see it a little bit behind the ear, so it meets up at the top of the head. Ah, I see, I need to make this curve a little higher. So let me raise up these horns. All these extra lines, I'm going to cover them up by the end of this, so I don't need to worry about that. So top of the neck, barely, you can see it right here, comes from behind the ear, sweeps down, sort of follows the same curve as this, so I want to be careful about that. It doesn't really get much bigger, it's about the same size and same curve all the way down. And then you can see this one line definition of muscles in the neck here. And then I'm going to do a few lines just so I don't forget about the mane. It has a nice mane, short, relatively short relative to the size of the giraffe. Short hair there. There. So that's my sketch to start with. This is, I don't think this is going to be the last time I use this orange, but I think I want to move on to this darker pencil first. And I'll use it first to fill in this mane. Filling it in easily, but making sure the strokes are going same directions as the hair, so it gives it the look of hair. I'm starting off light to begin with. I don't want to get too dark. You can always add more dark, but you can't really take it away. The tips of these horns are actually black, these ones on the top of the head. I'm going to start with this violet brown, or whatever they call it. I can never read it. Caput mortuum violet. So for the shadow being cast on the head by this middle horn, I'm going to use this brown too. It wraps around the eye here. It actually comes all the way down, shadow, all the way down the bridge of the nose. Now I think I'm going to put my orange here. This part of the mouth, maybe because it was eating grass, it's actually kind of stained yellow, and then it blends, and so it's probably part its natural coloring and part grass stains from its dinner. I'm going to do the orange there. Now for the spots, the most iconic part of a giraffe except for its long neck. I'm not going to try to make them exactly like the giraffe in my reference photo, but I am going to use them as examples of where the spots go. They're a lot smaller up on the head and this very top part of the neck. This spot kind of looks like a heart on this giraffe. Like that, definitely keeping that little heart. The idea I kind of have is put down all the color first, then go over it with the water brush to sort of just blend it all in. So we'll see if that works out. There's a spot kind of in the middle here. Okay. I've been thinking about the background, because it would be nice not to just draw the giraffe. It would be nice to have something behind it. Maybe what I will do, because this giraffe, its background in the reference photo is sort of like I think like a cement, but not flat cement, like cement that's made to look kind of like a rock face. So overall it's gray. It's kind of a darker gray. And there's a lot of texture in there, so maybe if I use this ink pen to draw some lines and then a water brush to spread it out, that might work. But I guess I should finish the giraffe first and then see how things are looking. Let's do a little more of this dark to make shadows on the face. So the nostril here has this sort of flap of skin, and this part of the lip is a little shaded, and the inside of the nostril is quite dark, so I'm going to add some in there for that. I guess something I need to get that I forgot is a palette to put my raw sienna on, so hold on a second while I get that. Okay. Got a huge daub of it, but I guess I should have squished it up a little bit in the tube. So a lot of the medium has separated from the pigment. But that's okay. Let's see. So I'm not quite sure where I'm going to use the gouache. I was thinking I'd use it just as another tone for the giraffe. But I feel like I should get water on these colored pencils first before I do that. So let's use this one I've never tried before. It's my newest one, newest water brush. The same brand as one I have had already. Same brand as this one. But it's a bigger tip than that one. So this one is my smallest one. This one is my next smallest. Oh, this is going to be really hard to tell. Oh, getting this render paper wet makes the paper super gray, so it's really hard to tell. It's hard to tell what I'm smoothing or not. We're gonna have to wait till it dries to see what happened. The tip of my brush is getting all orange, so definitely something is happening. Let's do these little spots and see how that goes. Okay, maybe I just need a bigger brush. This isn't doing as much as I want. Screw my huge brush. Start over here. See how I just do. So I'm going to soften these up. Yeah, see these dark gray spots is not because it's not because that's the color that's on the page now. It's just that's what the page looks like when it gets this wet. Let's get the mane as well. Oops, dripped a big thing of water. Yeah, it seems like even though these are technically, when I did a test on them, they were getting spread out by water, these colored pencils. They're not like actual watercolor pencils where they spread out really nicely. It just seems sort of like, yes, you can technically move the pigment around with water with these. So just smoothing everything out. That's what my goal is here. Soften the edges. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know the paper would behave like that. Hope it dries pretty quickly. I'm trying to clean this brush tip off. It's like stained. I'm gonna have to wash it properly after this with some brush cleaner. So now it does seem to be getting dry. Don't think I just want to go over it until it's fully dry, because if I do that, there'll be these really dark marks left, even though that's not what I'm trying to do. There'll be these big, bold, dark marks that just won't spread. So I've done it before, and I don't like how it looks. Yeah. This paper is pretty awesome though, like, this is not getting wet. This other side is perfectly dry. I just kind of need it to dry. This part seems to be drying pretty quick. Like here you can see this part where I first started using the big brush is starting to dry off. I don't really want to use too much up here in the ears, the sides of the faces. They're mostly just white. I mean, not a true white, but as far as the coloring of the giraffe goes, it's pretty white. The inside of the ears is extremely dark, like black, just like the eyes. Maybe at this point I should try using a little gouache. On the spots. Let's start doing that. Here I'm going to be a little more careful. When I was filling these in at first with the colored pencils, I was just kind of roughly filling it in, but I want to get, by doing brush strokes like this, I can start to get a look of a little bit of fur texture. Because the hair here isn't like super long or anything, but you can still tell. You can see these little subtle lines. So I'm doing this because I don't think I'm going to use any more water on this area like I just did. Because if I did that, this gouache would go everywhere. Because gouache is just opaque watercolor, and so if you get it wet again, even if it's fully dry, it is going to move. And I don't want it to move. I want the outside of these spots to remain fairly white. I think for the outside now, I'm just going to use, I'll probably use this violet brown colored pencil for any of the areas that need shading. Just getting a little more water into the tip of the brush. And I think adding the gouache really starts to make it look like a giraffe, because it's a lot darker. Showing up more on the page. Just gonna keep gently filling in all these spots. Giraffe spots. Trying to fill them in relatively evenly so that some don't show up as lighter than the others. Or at the very least, I'm trying to get these ones on the bottom neck to be darker than the ones on the top, because that's how the light is working in the reference photo. I'm also being more careful this time about the direction of my strokes. Last time I just roughly filled in. I didn't try that hard to make the hair, the impression of hair or fur. Yeah, a lot more right here. These ones are drying at the bottom, looking not as opaque as some of the other ones at the top. So I want to put some more paint. Make sure it's really getting evenly covered from spot to spot. And maybe a little more here on this one too. And this one. This one's pretty light. Okay. No, it's still pretty wet right here, so let's keep working down here. I want to get some of these hairs, make hair-like strokes, and really make it look like a mane. A little giraffe mane. I don't want to get too much paint on my brush, because then I can't get those fine strokes. It'll be too bogged down by the paint. Face is almost dry. Giraffe's face, almost. The mane is not perfectly even. There's some spots that are more in shadow. There's some spots where the hair looks darker. So I'm trying to keep the mane very varied like that in my rendition as well. Okay, it's still a bit wet, but I think it's safe to move on to these spots up here now. a little more paint on this one. It's looking kind of weak compared to the rest. I'm thinking about what I should do for the head. Because actually this whole area is kind of... Let me clean my brush a bit. The whole area is this tan color. It's lighter than the spots. But maybe if I use a large brush and spread the gouache, the raw sienna color over the whole area, then it will give that lighter color. Maybe I'll even use this one. This one stays nice and wet. This is a different brand, I think. This one's Pentel. This one is Kuretake. And the brush tip on this one, like, always stays loaded with water. The other ones, they can get really hard. Really difficult to get the water to come out. This one's just a no-name brand. It works good too, though. But these ones are a little tough. Like, I keep having to squeeze them to get the water to come out, and then it like is a big blop of water, and it doesn't like evenly come out like this one. Let's see. I'm gonna take this, but I don't want it to be too much, so I'm gonna sort of spread it out in this pan first. Okay, it comes down away from these. This whole area, except for the sides. Oops, this one. Okay, not too much. Oh, so much more. Let's make it even. Make it even. It's too much. Too much. Oops, went outside. That's okay. Oh, that's actually perfectly fine that I went out, because this one actually has a big tuft of hair right here. Okay, so it comes down. Not all the way to the eyebrow, though. Alright, the way the paper changes color makes it hard. So I think this paper is not good for watercolor. It makes it really hard to tell if you've actually gotten pigment there, or if it's just because the paper is wet. Okay, it comes out all the way about here. Pretty much comes down the nose. We'll just have to see what it looks like once it dries. See how evenly the paint applied. does come to this corner of the eye. That one. And it does come a little bit out like this. Hopefully, I'm really hoping the color is also spreading out because it's really hard to tell. It's so dark gray just because of the papers changing color. Oops. I think that's looking good though. Oh yeah, in the camera you can really see how wet it is. It's just shining. This might be all I use the gouache for unless I come back to do some details at the end. I think at this point I should just let that dry there. Now for the background, let's see, if I do any black ink on this side, the nice subtle strokes of the mane will sort of be lost. So maybe I don't want to do anything on the top. Maybe something, but I don't want it to. I was thinking that maybe I could outline it with black here, and then maybe bring a couple lines across the way it is in the photo for the sort of rocky background, and then apply water to it to soften it up and make it look like background. The only thing I'd be worried about is having it bleed into the giraffe, and I feel like that would happen. So maybe I should not outline the giraffe. Maybe I'll just try. I'll try it down here first and see how that works, and then that'll give the head a chance to dry again. Because I was thinking if I just do something a little bit, let's see, let's go straight across like this. Just a little, lightest little, like, sort of texture lines. And it comes down a little bit too. Just to make it more interesting and not totally blank. Okay, let's test that first. There's that tiny little application. I did think using a big brush would be a bigger. Should I use this one or should I use this really big one? This is the background. I think I'll use a really big one. Okay, here we go. Let's see. I want to make sure not to even, I don't want to even touch with the water the body of the giraffe. Even if it's not, even if there's no ink right there. Something I've realized just doing this is, I don't think it's even picking it up, but there are leftover water lines where it was wet and it's dried. So for the background, if I'm going to do this for the whole background, I want to make sure I get evenly wet on the page, even if there's not anything that I'm trying to spread out, so that I don't have any of those water lines except exactly where I want them. So in fact, I'm gonna bring it all the way to the edge, even though I didn't draw all the way to the edge. think this is going to work fine though, because it's not actually spreading out. The ink isn't spreading out as much as I expected. I did not test on this paper. I did a test to see how water soluble all these items were. Oh, I think I'm pulling some blue from another page. Oh, yep, look at that. It's getting wet on these pages. I'm pulling the blue from there. Oh man, it's making the whole thing wet. Now this isn't, like, it is feathering a little bit here. I don't even think you can see it on the camera. Maybe if I use the bigger end. Well, I've got to follow through. I've already done that first part like that. It'll be weird if I only have these lines here. I know what would happen. Let's just experiment. The face is still drying of the giraffe. Let's see what happens if I put the ink down on the wet page. This brush does not like it, but it's kind of a cool effect. Let's do it down here too. I guess that's the way to do it. That's cool. What a cool effect. Well, I guess that's what I should do. Get the page wet first, then put the ink down. And that looks neat. Hopefully it'll still look as neat once it dries. Might look even better once it dries. Wonder if it's getting onto this other page. Yeah, look, it's wet here. Oh, yeah, it's bleeding out a little bit. Well, I guess that's one of the drawbacks of this sketchbook, but as long as you don't go to the edge like I did, then it wouldn't be a problem. It's all wet. It's completely wet. I'm just kind of hanging out for a second. This is getting dry though. It's still not dry enough for me to feel confident starting to use the colored pencils on it. I'm not sure how I should take the background up. If I'm not going to do anything on this side in order to preserve these little brush strokes for the mane, I probably shouldn't do it up here either, so maybe I could bring it up along the side of the face. Maybe gently taper how many, so it'll get less. So I've got tons and tons of strokes here, but then maybe up here I'll still get it wet up here, but the black ink I'll make less and less and a little bit fewer and farther apart. Let's do that. So I'm gonna do what I did before, just so that it looks the same, how I use the small end first to do a few lines. Still trying to make it look somewhat rock-like. That's all I'll do for that. And then a water brush and wet it down. But try to stay away from the actual giraffe. Try to keep it spreading out. Ooh, it's gonna go anyway. Try to keep it spreading out this way. Squeezing a lot of water out. Ooh, yeah, it's bleeding into the giraffe anyway. I guess at least the way the paper gets all gray, you know for sure it's super wet if you want to do wet on wet techniques. Okay, I'm going to try my best to be careful and not let any of this ink get onto the giraffe's face. Let's start with like a big one. Let's start with a big, huge one. Ooh, yeah, it's so wet right there. It's like, it's kind of got this cloudy effect. In fact, the brush is getting too wet, and it's like so soaked with water, it's not letting any ink out. Come on, come on. Come on, you can do it. Come on. Oh, the paper is too wet now. Dang. Okay, I'm gonna press hard on it to make sure I draw the ink out. And get this to flow in the same direction as I'm drawing the lines. It's so wet right there that it's just sort of feathering out randomly. So I'm going to hold it in the direction that I've been drawing. I'm going to get this water out of my brush now so I can use it normally. So move on to filling in the really dark areas on the giraffe. Now this head's pretty dry here. This is still quite wet, and this is probably going to be wet for a while. So let's see, I think that now I will move on to doing a little bit of shading with this brownish violet color. Just shading on the areas that are white. I want to give it a little more interest. I'm not going to get too detailed with the shading. Just make it so that this isn't just plain white, because it's kind of boring. It's like a dark area where the mane is coming out of the neck. I don't know if that's shadow or that's just how the fur color works. Like over here, the head itself is kind of casting a shadow on the neck, since the head is turned. Let's see. I guess. No, it still seems kind of damp right here. Okay, I'm gonna take this and do the insides of the ears. Then 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Comes all the way up there and back. This is all black. Tops of these horns are black too, like black tufts of fur. Looks like the other one, it has 3 sort of oval-shaped shadows. It has a few little spots here on the ear and on the bottom. I guess this one does too. Some little, I don't know if they're freckles or scars from bugs or what. That's a nice little detail to keep in there. Okay, I think it's safe also to do the eyes, which are very black. I don't see any sort of reflection in them at all. And it's got like a little eyebrow right here. You can can see the eyelashes coming out. Let's do this one. Super black, this one. Eyelashes. There's actually a couple at the bottom that you can see. And it's got this heavy sort of eyelid or eyebrow right there. What's this doing? This is pretty dry now. This nose is still wet though. I'm really liking adding this black to the giraffe. It's really starting to look like a giraffe now, I think. Once this background gets dry, I'll be able to work more on adding more details with the black. I don't want to add black everywhere. I'm actually kind of liking how the giraffe isn't standing out much from the background up here, but having this, it's like when you look at it in person, I'm like looking at it in real life, but then I'm also looking up at my camera. You can see the orange colored pencil in real life. It's still really faint, but on the camera it sort of has this look of not like a silhouette, but only doing the most important details, and you understand that it's a giraffe even though it's not drawn like as realistically as possible or as completely as possible. I'm kind of liking that look, so I think I don't want to go too far with anything, but I do want to add a little more detail. It's just hard because this is still so wet. I don't want anything to accidentally start bleeding into this wet part. Like if I try to do where the nostrils are super dark, they need to be black. But one is actually still wet and the other one is right next to this border where it's the page is wet. And I don't want to have the nostril like bleed into here. Like that's not the effect I'm going for. Maybe now I will go back to this darker of the two colored pencils and do some more shading, like to show that this third horn is here in the middle. Using the side of the pencil, not the tip, so that I can get some nice smooth shading. Side of this, do it a little darker so it shows like the horn popping up, and do a hard line right here where the top is. I haven't forgotten about my white acrylic, but I'm definitely saving that for last. I'm just going to do like I usually do and use the white at the very end to add those nice little popping details that really bring it all together. I'm moving a little bit to the tip for this part because I want to just get these slightly darker lines, areas where there's like wrinkles or the fur is separating in two different directions. I don't want to do these kind of details with black. Black would be too harsh. like the eyelids here, or whatever you would call these bony protrusions above the eyes. You've got wrinkles in them. So I want to get these to show up. Use this pencil. I think it's doing a good job, and it's looking good. This pencil is doing a good job. So I'm going to fit one more in here. The shadow comes almost from behind. I'm going to try to get a little bit of variation in this shadow. This is a much harder shadow than pretty much anything else on the giraffe. Where this horn sticks up, it's casting a big dark shadow. And then also down the bridge of the nose, not all the way down, just like right there. And a little bit here too. It meets up here with this part. Comes kind of to the corner of the eye. And there is a... My hands keep getting wet because I'm trying to hold the page down, and it's just still damp right there. There is some shadow. It's not nearly as dark as any of these other places, but there is some shadow on this lower part of the nose. So I'm going to make sure that it looks even from top to bottom. This is still so wet, I can't do anything with that part. I can add some more shadow up here. And the fur just does seem to get darker up here too, as it really pulls away from the rest of the head. Show that this is a tuft of fur sticking out. So do some kind of sharp lines right there. Ah, right here is a nice shaded part. Now I'm doing some really light shadow. Oh, there's this one line right here. That's pretty dark. Now I just want to make sure the face looks like all these colors belong together, even though if I just wanted to draw a giraffe, I definitely wouldn't choose only these colors, and I probably wouldn't choose like this orange. I would not pick to use orange, but I'm just trying to make it look like these all are meant to be together as colors. Let's add a little bit more here. Still too wet down here. It is drying, but it's definitely too wet to work with. Maybe I'll go add a little bit more. a little bit more of this color all over here on the neck, because that really is what I'm seeing. It's not perfectly white fur. I don't know if it really is that there are some dark hairs and mostly light hairs, or if it's just shadow cast by the light hairs. There's definitely, yeah, like right here, it looks completely white. This part on the neck and this part on the face. But on the rest of the neck, it almost looks like it's a mixture of the brown and the white fur, and it's just that there's mostly white. Let's make this darker. It's the bottom edge of the neck. How's that looking? That same sort of effect is here too with the fur. It's actually pretty heavy right here. A lot of dark mixed with light fur right here. It's not shadow. I can tell it's not shadow. It's definitely a mixture of fur colors. Sort of drags over here and right here too. It's getting dry. Maybe it's safe to do a little bit. Oh, no kitty hair on my finger. It's safe to do some right here. Be safe. Seems alright. Seems alright so far. Add more shadow here, because this is a really hard line right here, where the nose starts hanging over. Mouth, the lips come out. And the shadow right here, where the neck is got these folds from the head turning, they're actually pretty dark, so I'm going to define those well. Right here, this is pretty dark too. And here there are some wrinkles. Since the ears can move forward and back a lot, there's probably extra skin there. And here's some wrinkles too. I think it's really starting to come together. It's really starting to look like a giraffe. This is still pretty damp here, but that might still be dangerous. It's damp right here, but technically the nose feels dry to me. Well, I guess this is the lips, the nose and the lips, but just half a centimeter away still feels damp. I'm still going to avoid this area. Keep adding where it looks like I can add. It's like these ears are pretty shaded since they're a curved shape. So I'm going to add some shadow in here. Give it that effect. And then the head is actually casting its shadow on its own ears. So let's add some shadow for that too. Cuts right here. It's a pretty hard line right here for the shadow. And that actually helps this part with the eye that sticks out from the face. It helps it stand out. Because even though the eye is this white fur and the ear is the white fur, the ear is more in shadow. That's how you can see the difference between those two areas of the face of the head. Shadow actually comes on all the way up the horn here. Just adding slowly, bit by bit. Paying attention to where you see stuff. So it starts to come together. It's kind of tedious, but the more you add, the nicer it comes out in the end. If you just stay subtle, don't get too heavy-handed right from the beginning. Just keep slowly working it, adding more. So this part of the face is technically in shadow, but I don't want to do it too much because I want this part where it's actually fur that's making the difference to stand out. So I'm going to make sure this is extra dark. It comes down here too. And it's pretty shaded back here. On the neck, quite shaded. Wow. Cool. I was trying not to get the pencil on the gouache, but putting it on the gouache looks great for making these spots also look like they're in shadow. So actually I'm going to go back and do that real quick. The pencil really loves the texture of the gouache. It's cool. Looks cool. This part is super dark back here behind the ear. It's so dark. I need it to stand out from the ear. It's like how this eye bone sticks out, and you can tell the difference because the shading here versus no shading here. I need the same effect to happen here, where this is much darker than this shading. And I think I've got it. I think it's coming out really, really good. I want it to fade so that it matches with the rest of the shading on here. I don't want it to get too crazy. What's that? Oh, it's looking so good. Oops. The page is curling because it got so wet. Oh, I think we're safe here. So I'm gonna finally come back here. Add some stuff here. You can actually see the lip here. Draw a hard line for that. It's sort of wrinkly here. And the nostril's actually up here. There's a hard line here. Right here. And the way the wrinkles are on the nose here, it's almost like spots. It's not, but I think doing a little like a stippling technique will get the effect, the correct effect that I need. Some here too, just a little bit of like stippling kind of things in these parts, the wrinkles here curve around. Can't see that on this side, but it's shadowy. And there is just like little dots. Just do some stippling. I think you can't even see it on the camera. Oh well, it's okay. I'll scan it when I'm done. You can see it once I get that posted. So what I was really waiting for was putting black in the nostrils down here because they are super dark. Big holes in the head, so they're definitely utterly in shadow. So they need some true black and not just dark shading. But it's just like a line on this side because of the angle of the head. And actually, let's do one right here. Little thin line. A couple of these. And I also wanted to do some here. Some hatching lines around this horn in the middle of the head. Really start helping it stand out. Do a little hatching down the side. Following the shadow very carefully. I don't want it to be actually black here. Not solid black. I'll bring this down into a few other dark shadow areas. But again, use it very, very lightly. Just giving it that extra depth. Let's be super subtle. This one right here, but none of those other wrinkles. And maybe a little bit coming out of the ears. These nice hatching lines, that's it. I think that's good. This is still damp, but whew, I'm really gonna have to like squish this so that it gets flat because it's super curly. Because I got this all wet, but this is not wet, so it's just like warping the paper like crazy. It's curling up so much right here, like the whole. All right. Looking really good. I think maybe I'll use this orange a little bit more so that it can shine a little bit more. So the area I really thought the orange would be great in is down here on the mouth, because this area is the closest to this orange color of all the fur. Like right here, I'm actually seeing sort of like, it's almost like a yellow reflection, maybe from the grass on the ground or something like that. Or like I was saying earlier, maybe it stained its mouth eating. Because I remember they had these big things filled with hay and grass and whatever they needed to eat. Could have just been stuff in its face. Yeah, I do like that. I'm really lucky, like these were totally randomly drawn, but all these colors really do work well together. Though this raw sienna, look at this. This is totally not. Look at this stripe. It's like showing the color. It's hard to tell on the camera, but it looks almost like a green brown. Like it has a really strong yellow tone to it, but when I put it on the page, it's much more warm than that. So it actually works even better than I imagined it would. Now I'm looking at this. So I think this is looking really good. I don't know if I need to push it any farther. Just add a little bit more to the neck. I guess I want to make sure the neck looks just as worked as the face, but the neck does not have, it's not that interesting. It doesn't have very much going on. It's just some subtle differences in shading. I could do, okay, I'll do it. I was gonna say I could do a few sharp lines along the mane, the hair of the mane, to make it more interesting. And that'll help the neck look more interesting overall too. How's that? Oh, it looks even better. Okay. I'll take one more look at this. I guess right here, even though I wanted to keep it light because this fur area is starkly different from this one. When I look at the piece as a whole, it looks like I just missed an area of shading, so I'm going to fill it in after all, regardless of what the reference picture looks like. There. Yeah, I think that's better overall. I don't want to bring these lines out farther. I'm not really getting the effect that I'm seeing. Can see that the neck is wrinkled from the head turning. It's so subtle in the picture, but I'm going to add some darker lines here to make sure that it's clear in the drawing that that's what's happening. I think that's a bit better. Another thing is, I'll leave it. I'll leave it, it's fine. I was going to try and fix this jawline, but I don't want, I like having the softer orange, not as dark, like how it is here. Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for the last color. This acrylic marker in white. This is like perfect for me. I love doing white details on the end. It just makes everything look so awesome. So the first thing I'm going to do is along the neck here. It's not the whole way. It's kind of punctuated by the hairs growing out for the mane, but there's definitely a highlight along the neck. It's a lot stronger in some areas. I'm gonna add that. It's another one of those little subtle things that wouldn't be the first thing someone looks at in a picture, but it just makes the whole picture come alive, or I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's just so great. Alright, gotta pump some more paint in here. There we go. It's also a nice way to make the drawing on this page and the drawing on this page come together, because there is this big line where they're divided. So I don't know if I should do anything else on the neck. I think that's good. I'm not going to do any more white there. I'm debating whether I should put a little highlight in the eye anyway, because this giraffe totally doesn't have anything like that. It is black, dark black holes for the eyes. You can't even see the roundness of the eyes. Like, you can't see the bulb of the eyeball. It's just flat black. I'm so tempted to just put a little boop right on the eye to sort of, but I really like doing things from life, so I think I won't do that. Something I will do though, I'm going to fill in this area right here where I had to keep sketching a lot, and I had to keep sketching further and further out. So there's these orange lines that don't need to be there anymore, and I'm just going to cover them with the white. And it works perfectly because this area of the face is so highlighted anyway, because it's the closest to the light source. Well, to the direction of the light source, I guess. Let's do the same thing here. Just really bring out that white. It even stands out. Don't know. Yeah, you can't really tell on the camera, but the natural color of this paper is not as white as this marker. So even on areas where I'm not trying to cover up lines, it's good to use it. These areas where it's really highlighted because the sun is super bright. And the edge of this ear, really bright. The bottom edge. Where else? The front part of this eyebrow. Quite highlighted, so we're sticking way out. Got that. Oh, right, I wanted to put a little bit in the middle of where this horn is. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. It's not actually white right there, but it's a lot lighter than everything else around it. And then there's a highlight here. It's not white again, but since white is what I have to use, put that there. Show that the horn is growing up out. And over on this side, do the same thing. Try to be a little subtle, a little light-handed. These need to look like little fur strokes, but this nib is pretty big. I'm gonna give it a little detail. That's fine. And maybe one right here. Just a little bit, tiny little dots right here. They give that U shape really is shown thanks to the highlights on the fur here. But also, this horn shows right there, and then there's a few white furs here and a few a little farther down, and they sort of curve down right there. I guess there's some in the black too. Let's get that super big contrast. Put this little bit in the black that I can see. Now this ear, the top is also really highlighted. Down a little bit, and then a little bit right here too. Oh, the back of this eye bone, eyebrow bone. Yep. And this part of the ear, and even inside the ear on this ear has a lot of white because of the sun shining. I don't want to mess up these black dots I've already done, so I'm being really careful right there. Now, let's see. I think that's actually good. I do have a few smudges from, I don't know if you can tell. This is not the natural color of my finger. This is this colored pencil has gotten on my hand, and I've sort of smudged it here. But I don't think you can really see that on the camera, so I'm not going to make you watch me erase that. I think I'm pretty much done. I'm just going to sign this. Let's see, I'll use the little end. And I'll assign among the background area. Maybe I do it on don't want it to stand out too much. Just do it right here. Yeah, that's good. Alright, that's it for this month's Lucky Dip. Drew this giraffe using raw sienna gouache, a brownish violet colored pencil, orange colored pencil, black brush pen, and white acrylic paint marker on this awesome render paper, which does not bleed through, as you can see. That's it for today. Thank you for watching.